7:48 here at the Breakfast Club this Friday morning, 30 degrees in town. We'll get about 53 for the high today. And I want to say good morning to Michelle Sie Whitten, who is with us today. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing so well, thanks. And I really do appreciate some of your time today.
Oh, thank you.
For those of you that don't know her, Michelle is the executive director of the Global Down Syndrome Foundation, co-founder and executive director. And I don't know the whole backstory, but usually when somebody tackles something like this and creates something like this, it's because of a personal connection with this. Tell me how this all started.
Well, it all started with a personal connection, Rick.
Yeah.
My daughter, Sophia, was born about 10 years ago, and she happens to have Down syndrome. And, that was a scary thing. We didn't know what that was about. And then we started doing some research, and we found out that Down syndrome is the least funded genetic condition by our federal government, the National Institutes of Health, even though it's the most frequent chromosomal disorder. And the more we thought about it, the more we thought, okay, well, we need to do something about that. We need to change that in order to get better medical outcomes and cognitive outcomes for our children.
So Down syndrome, I think people, recognize now that there are certain personality traits, there are certain physical traits that I think likely are associated with Down syndrome, and people have maybe some understanding of that. But Down syndrome itself, is a lot of research going on? Are there new therapies now? Tell me what's going on in that world.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, there are about 400,000 plus people in the U.S. and about 6 million worldwide with Down syndrome. And the great news is that the lifespan of a person with Down syndrome in the 1980s was 28, and today it's about 60 in the United States.
Wow.
So that's great news. And that simply happened because our kids were deinstitutionalized. And in the 60s and 70s, sadly, a lot of our kids went into institutions, sometimes as infants, and kind of died tragic deaths. Now they're at home, and because of the civil and human rights activists in the United States, they have a right to go to school, they have a right to live in their house, and there's been increased medical treatment for them, but not enough. And the research is still really, really low. But organizations like our organization, Global Down Syndrome Foundation, and we created an institute, the first academic institute at CU, the Linda Cernig Institute for Down Syndrome. We're tackling the research and hoping the federal government will pay attention and start funding Down syndrome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Obviously, very important work. You've had support from people like the McDonald Family Foundation, right?
Yes, absolutely. And, their family has been touched by this. Pat and Jack McDonald are fabulous human beings, and they're fabulous philanthropists. And Pat happens to have a brother who has Down syndrome. So she understands what it means to have a person in the family who's differently abled and not see them get the equality that other people in her family get. And so her and my mother had this idea, hey, why don't we have something really special, not a prom because it's not age appropriate per se,
right,
but a Hollywood ball. And so beyond the McDonald Family Foundation and the McDonald's working with us, they have thrown in the Red Rocks Church, which is their organization too, and the most fabulous volunteers you've ever met. And together we create this experience for almost 100 people with Down syndrome who come and rock it and have a ball, a Hollywood ball.
Now, see some photos. It looks absolutely fabulous.
Yes, they're fabulous. Of course, if you know anything about our population, I think the stereotype, not everybody is like that, and that's the important thing. Every person with Down syndrome is completely different.
Yes.
But, the stereotype is that they tend to be very loving, they tend to be very empathetic,
yes,
and of course, we want all of them to win. So every person goes home with an Oscar.
Nice.
But there is a king and queen of the ball, and the event itself, of course, is coming up, and we are really indebted to David's Bridal of Lone Tree because they get all of our gals and guys, but mostly gals, fitted with those beautiful dresses.
Nice.
And all those dresses are paid for by people like Pat McDonald and my mom, who are like, we are going to make this the most amazing experience that they've ever had. So we're just really excited, and it's coming up. It's May 31st, and it's at Red Rock Church Littleton campus.
Okay.
And if you go to our website, you can find out about it. And the messaging that we have is that we're more alike than different, and differently abled people, love to dance, love to do everything we like to do, and we're just making it really special for them. And there are a lot of typical people there as well. So, for as many people with Down syndrome, it's not just like, oh, this is just for people with Down syndrome. There are tons of young people who come out and just rock it all night long with our constituents. So it's great.
Nice. This is, such a wonderful story, and certainly as it goes on beyond the second this year to the third and the fourth, and more people find out and get involved, it'll become even more magical. But the Be Beautiful, Be Yourself Hollywood Ball is on May 31st. GlobalDownSyndrome.org would probably be the good place to go, right?
Yes, absolutely. And, we're doing these kinds of programs also to get people to go and get some medical care, because it's very important. Our kids need more medical checkups.
Yes.
So I think by reaching out with really fun programs, then we can sit down and have the conversation with the individual or with the parents and say, have you had your thyroid checked? There are a lot of incidences of certain diseases that we're more susceptible to. So it's all with the undertow of your health, medical care, and then, research as well.
Oftentimes we find, you certainly are living this, and a lot of people will understand it, oftentimes we find that the challenges in our life ultimately end up becoming great gifts to us.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, for me, I kind of grew up with a righteous gene. So I've always been like pro-women, pro-gay people, pro-anybody who is discriminated against. And I didn't know anybody who was differently abled. So in a strange way, it's just broadened and lengthened the spectrum of people that I feel righteous about in terms of equality.
Good for you. Good for you. Well, I am really glad we had a chance to meet and chat this morning, and I'm going to keep reminding people that they need to find a way to get involved and support the cause. GlobalDownSyndrome.org is the place you want to go and learn more and read more and find out how you can assist, because like with any nonprofit that's operating in this day and age, the more the merrier. The more people that can help, the better work they can do. And certainly Michelle and all these wonderful people who are affected by Down syndrome would really appreciate you reaching out and becoming involved. So good for you and good for your mom.
Yeah, thank you, Rick. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Michelle. We'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
So there you go. GlobalDownSyndrome.org is the website. If you know somebody who is affected by Down syndrome, if you know somebody touched by it, go check it out. Maybe there's some good information there for them as well. That's good. It's good to learn about great people like that in our community. And there are so many great people like that in our community. That's the thing. You just, the more you think you learn about the folks that are doing good work in town, then you hear another story and you go, wow, we are blessed to live in quite a community here in the metro area. We really, truly are. People that reach out and, don't want to be victims. They want to, they're touched by something. They find a way to deal with it and help others who are touched by the same thing. And that's what's going on here with the Global Down Syndrome Foundation and Michelle Sie Whitten and all the folks over there that work with her. That's just really cool. So, good. That's good. That's good stuff.